A federal courtroom has become the center of intense legal attention after a judge issued a rare and consequential order involving a former U.S. president. According to court records and reporting from multiple outlets, the judge determined that repeated failures to comply with court-mandated requirements had reached a point where stronger enforcement mechanisms were necessary. This was not a warning. It was not a procedural reminder. It was a formal judicial finding that the court's authority was being tested, and the judge responded by authorizing federal enforcement measures to ensure compliance. Legal scholars note that situations like this are exceptionally rare, especially when they involve individuals who previously held the nation's highest office. When a federal judge moves beyond deadlines and penalties and authorizes enforcement tools, it signals that the court believes ordinary remedies are no longer sufficient. So what led to this moment? Court filings show a pattern of missed deadlines, delayed document production, and explanations that prosecutors argued were inconsistent with the record. Over several months, the court issued multiple directives related to discovery obligations, the phase of a civil case where both sides are required to exchange relevant information. According to prosecutors, key financial records were not produced despite repeated assurances that they were being gathered. At a subsequent hearing, the judge reviewed a detailed compliance timeline outlining numerous court orders that remained unmet. This was not treated as a technical oversight or a scheduling dispute. The judge framed the issue as a question of whether court orders were being taken seriously. Legal analysts emphasize that judges are typically patient during discovery. Extensions are common, delays happen, but patience has limits. When a court concludes that noncompliance may be deliberate rather than unavoidable, the legal consequences change dramatically. During a closed hearing, the judge reportedly examined evidence presented by prosecutors, suggesting that relevant materials existed but had not been turned over. Court documents referenced communications and logistical actions that, according to prosecutors, raised concerns about intentional delay. Importantly, the judge's order did not determine guilt in the underlying case. Instead, it focused narrowly on compliance with court procedures. Civil contempt, legal experts explain, is not about punishment. It is about compelling obedience to lawful court orders. The ruling itself was unusually direct in tone. The judge wrote that compliance had been promised but not delivered, and that the court could not function if its orders were treated as optional. As a result, the judge authorized federal enforcement officers to take limited, court-approved steps to secure compliance. That decision sent shockwaves through the legal community. Historically, courts have asserted their authority even against powerful figures. During the Watergate era, the Supreme Court ordered President Richard Nixon to turn over recordings, rejecting claims of executive privilege. Nixon complied. In other cases involving former presidents, courts have imposed sanctions or fines when legal obligations were not met. What makes this situation notable, analysts say, is the escalation beyond financial penalties toward enforcement authority. That step reflects a judicial conclusion that prior measures had failed. Legal experts stress that this does not mean arrests or criminal charges. Enforcement authority in civil cases typically involves document retrieval, asset review, or supervised compliance, all under strict legal limits. Still, the implications are serious. First, it places immediate pressure on legal counsel. Attorneys are officers of the court, and representations made to judges carry professional consequences. If findings of misrepresentation stand, disciplinary reviews could follow. Second, it raises broader constitutional questions. Courts rely on compliance, not force, to operate. When judges must invoke enforcement tools, it reflects concern about erosion of judicial authority, a cornerstone of democratic governance. Third, the political impact is unavoidable. Supporters of the former president describe the action as unfair or politically motivated. Critics argue that no individual, regardless of past office, should be exempt from court orders. That divide is now playing out in public discourse. The former president responded publicly by criticizing the ruling and questioning the judge's motives. Legal analysts note that while public disagreement is not uncommon, such statements do not alter the legal effect of a court order. What happens next depends on compliance. The defense has indicated it may seek appellate review, but appeals do not automatically pause enforcement unless a stay is granted. In this case, the judge explicitly declined to delay enforcement, citing the risk of further obstruction. If compliance follows, the issue may resolve quietly. If not, courts have additional tools available, including escalating sanctions, to protect their authority. This moment goes beyond a single case. It tests whether judicial orders carry equal weight for all defendants, powerful or not. The rule of law depends on the answer. As legal scholars have pointed out, courts do not have political power. They have legitimacy. That legitimacy rests on the principle that lawful orders must be followed. What unfolds next will shape not only this case, but public confidence in the justice system itself.